Hey everyone,
Hi.
we've got a few folks out, so just give it a minute here and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Did anybody want to have anything on the agenda?
I have some questions regarding one thing that I'm working on. That's it.
Excellent, excellent. Hey David,
Hey, how's it going? All right.
good. Just giving it a minute here to let folks trickle in.
Yeah, maybe a little bit late this time around. There's a lot of vacation.
Yeah, that's what I said. All right, cool. Well, it's 5 minutes past, so we can kick it off. So welcome everyone. This is, let me turn my video on. This is the Hyperlight bi-weekly meeting. Fortnightly meeting, and today is the 15th of October, 2025, and we're going to be discussing Hyperlight today. This is a CNCF meeting, so we do follow the CNCF code of conduct. This means to be kind and respectful to everyone, and if you have any questions or concerns, you can reach out to any of the moderators, and we can help you with that. Cool. So just kicking it off today, we did release Hyperlight 0.10 the last couple days, and Hyperlight WASM got updated as well. So you can go check that out. I think in this last one, there was a couple bug fixes. I'm pulling up the change log right now. Oops. Yeah, so we had a few bug fixes. Adam removed some allocations from the panic handler, which was, if in certain situations, was causing a crash. We updated to 189, and let's see. We only clear IO buffers when there's an unsuccessful gust call that just improves performance in a couple situations. And then there's a bunch of other smaller changes out there, but I think that was the major ones. So go check it out and let us know how it's working for you. Cool. Does anybody else have any other announcements? All right, then Shalish, you had a few questions on the work that you're working on.
Yeah. So I was working on this thing that uh, Ludwig helped me pick. So this is about adding, like expanding the host by engine macros functionality. So currently it is just pulling the last world that is defined in the wait file, and so I was going through that code. So it's mostly uh, I think I have to make changes in this component.rs file. 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think there's a to do there as well that states this fact that we should expand this in future. Anyways, so I was reading through the Hyperlight component util crate, and it's quite large. Like I haven't gone through everything yet,
Yeah.
so and I think I was while reading this, I was thinking that maybe there is some theory behind all of this, because there's a lot of things that I didn't know, and let's say we are using some type variables, free type variables. So is there a theory, or like the person who has written this has come up with this all by herself? Like,
No. Well, she did write all the code by herself, but she didn't come up with the ideas behind it all by herself. It's based on the component model for WASM.
okay,
And so there's a spec. I can give you the link to that.
I have read.
Most. Oh, have
Sorry,
you?
sorry.
Okay.
Okay, I have read the component model. So this is just to parse the component model in a way that we can generate uh,
Yeah,
our.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so it is parsing the WASM component model, and then generating our bindings so that we get this nice host API binding that we can use in Rust and in the guest as well. And so it takes that and it's a proc macro, so it's generating a bunch of code prior to it running. And so the best thing I would do is take one of the tests, and I can give you, I don't know if Ludwig gave you the commands, but there's a couple um, environment variables that you can set a um, when you build a project, and what it will do is it'll dump all of the generated code, and then you can go look at the generated code, and that will help kind of understand what that proc macro is doing.
yes, I
And
wanted that.
then
Yeah.
have you done that yet?
No, no, I wanted that. I tried to find that to find a way to get the generated code. I could not.
Cool. Yeah, I have that written down somewhere, so I will find it here in a moment, send it to you. And then, so a lot of that you can probably ignore. Um, the part that's going to be critical for us is just where the world selection happens. And
Mhm.
then piping, we want to just add a parameter to the proc macro that takes the world name that we care about and then pipes that all the way through instead of doing our own world selection based on like the last world that we find in the file.
Okay, okay. Yeah, but I think I still have to understand all of these. Anyways, I am reading through this. It has been 4 5 days. I think by the end of this week, I'll try to make a work in progress PR.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, what when I worked on a couple bugs in here, and what I did was it can be hard to follow the code path.
Yeah,
And so using those environment variables and having it dump it to file, and then I would stash the change of the file, and then I would change something in the proc macro, rerun it, and then see the output, and I could see the diff of the output that I was having, and so then I could narrow into where it was in the proc macro. I don't know if there's a better way to. There's other folks on the call here, but that's kind of how I was debugging it. And then if you have the files and you have those environment variables, which I'll send to you available, then you can also hook up the debugger and you can kind of hit a breakpoint on those files because it knows all about the correct files. So a little tricky to get started, but it should be kind of fun to play with.
sure, sure. Please send me those variables,
Yeah.
the
Yep.
flags.
I'm gonna look
I
them up right now.
tried to find out, there was a project that generates this Rust code, but I think that CLI doesn't work anymore. And
Yeah. There's a couple different ways to go about getting the proc macro generation. I think if you're using VS Code,
mhm.
there's the Rust analyzer has a tool that you can like click on the proc macro and say run, and it will pop out the generated code for you inside VS Code. But we have it built in with those environment variables, which makes it pretty easy to get started with. So I will grab that.
Sure. Thank you.
And yeah, and there's some other expansion tool too. There's like cargo expand, I think,
Yeah,
that you can use.
I tried to find out. I couldn't find out what to give in input to that cargo expand to actually expand that code, and then I didn't look much further. So that
Yeah.
I think Wasm README mentions this, that you can use cargo doc and cargo expand, but they don't explain further.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've used all of those options. I think in this particular case, the environment variable is probably the best option, and we can. I'll help you get that. We'll talk in Slack.
Sure. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Cool. So we have a couple other new faces. Does anybody want to say hello or have anything to add to the agenda?
I can say hello. This is my second call and currently just getting started up with the project. I am based in the Bay Area, working currently as a software engineer for DocuSign. Parallelly running Rust also, and explored this project on a YouTube video. Watched a few videos about Hyperlight on YouTube and was intrigued about the technology and have recently started to learn more. I spent some time with Doru a couple of weeks ago. He walked me through kind of how the integration tests are run for the uh, uh, guest as well as host and how we can debug them. So just playing around with that right now, and yeah, in a few days, hoping to make contributions. Nice to see you all.
Cool. That's great to have you here. If you need help finding an issue, just reach out. I think that's how we helped out Shalish to get something started there. But otherwise, if you see something that you're super interested in, go for it or just ask questions.
Yeah. And in general, like the way that I have learned in new teams or new projects is by either fixing small issues or maybe testing functionalities. So in case if any one of you have any recommendations on those areas, I can pitch in and try to get things rolling on that front.
That's awesome. So I think we gave Shalish 2 different options, and I think he picked the binding one. The other one was a testing one. So maybe you could take a look at that one. And
okay, is it like tagged under the first good issues in Git, or maybe I can I can just ping on Slack. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Thanks.
Does anybody else want to say hello?
Hi, James.
Excellent. Liam, this is the first time you've joined us, but I do know you from other places. So
I'll say hi. Liam. I work on Wasm Cloud and over at Cosmonic. We focus mostly on enterprise integrations, Kubernetes native WebAssembly, stuff like that. I do a lot of stuff around Wasm, and honestly, this was just an ad hoc joining. I had an open slot, and I saw the meeting, and I was like, oh, I should come check out what you guys are doing. I'm very aware of the project. I think what you guys are doing is awesome, and always curious about ways to integrate. We just released a bunch of updates on Cosmonic and a new framework for WebAssembly for Wasm Cloud to auto-generate MCP servers. So it's over at sandboxmcp.ai. But other than that, we'll look to integrate in with this project and get some tooling supported, maybe do a demo at KubeCon or something like that. That's what I'm kind of thinking ahead to.
very cool. Well, welcome.
Awesome. Good luck. And I think WASM is a really great target for MCP servers. Yeah, I think the more components we can get out there for that, the better. Awesome. It's great to hear it, Liam. Thank you.
Well, we wrote a white paper where we sort of walked through that there are a bunch of agentic specific risks with MCP that are enhanced due to the non-deterministic inputs and outputs. You have a bunch of like open-ended input here, analysis, and then open-ended output. And what we see happening in, the MCP and agentic AI workflow world are just a lot of exploitation. And OWASP has called this out in there. They did a top 10 for Gen AI. And I know I'm in a rabbit hole here, but I think this is like adjacent to this topic of what you guys are securing against with Hyperlight and enabling. But the OWASP did a nice guide on it, and they really called out things like LLM prompt injection, data exfiltration, lateral movement, which are obviously enabled by the over permissive nature of containers by default, sitting on all the POSIX. So a capability driven approach like WebAssembly seems like a slam dunk. And in our community, we've had a ton of adoption in that area. So it looks like we're not the only ones that think that way.
Cool. So I did add one more thing to the doc here, and maybe I'll quickly go over it and share my screen. Is just get some extra eyes on this. Let me share my screen. So okay, can you see that? Seeing head nods. Okay, cool. So this is just a quick doc. I'm trying to solicit some feedback from folks on there's been kind of some mentions in various issues about having a custom target for the Hyperlight guest for Rust. And recently in Hyperlight WASM, we came across an issue where this would potentially solve that problem. And so background is that we currently target x86 unknown none today, which is kind of bare metal. That target uses by default targets the soft float ABI. And when we were running WASM in our Hyperlight guest, Hyperlight WASM time compiler doesn't go to soft float. And so it assumes some basic SSE instructions at its base level. And so we had a mismatch between the ABIs of the different components running inside our guest, and that caused some issues. And so since we've been talking about having custom targets prior, I put together like a document kind of saying like this is how we could potentially bring this into Hyperlight in a kind of staged approach so that we could solve this problem. And then Jorge, who's a member of the team, he also put together a project that helps writing Hyperlight guests much simpler because there's a whole bunch of environment variables that you have to get wired up, and there's some extra cargo things that need to happen. And so these two things together enable us to make the experience for developing guests in Rust for Hyperlight much easier and solves some of these ABI problems. And so this is just, so that's a quick summary of like the motivation. The proposal is that we could use this tool that Jorge built. It allows us to use custom targets without targeting the nightly standard, just the nightly build of Rust. And so what it does is it builds the tool chain that RustUp has for the target that we define, and then all the rest of the code, like user code, is all just is also built to get that against that target as well. But yeah, so it uses that environment variable. You can read more about it there. And then this is the change to the unknown none that I'm proposing, is that we enable, we turn on SSE, the two SSEs. We already have these enabled in Hyperlight guests, and then turning off the Rust ABI soft float. So that would be the initial start to our custom target. And then there's a few other things that I mentioned above that we potentially would want to enable in our guest. And then I proposed doing this in a couple different phases, where we initially verified that this works by integrating into the main repository and replacing places where we're doing this manually, and making sure there's no bugs that we don't know about at this point. Getting benchmarks running and getting the tests running. And then once we've got that, when we know that's ready to go, then we'd publish it. And then we could actually integrate that fully blown into the core repository. And then at the same time, while some of that stuff's kind of baking, we could start to upstream our target to Rust so that we could get it in there. The nice thing about the tool is that it allows us to iterate quickly on a target if we need to change something. Whereas with Rust, we have to go and get it upstreamed and then wait for a release and yada, yada, yada. So that's kind of what I put together. Take a look, give me feedback. Jorge took a look and is generally aboard. I think Adam, you took a look at some point too. So, oops. And then I listed a bunch of alternatives and why I discarded them as options. So,
James, this might be a separate thing, but a step after all this is done, I think, might be to try and enable SSE in Hyperlight WASM. I can't remember exactly what it's called in WASM. But I think we're dependent on some of these issues being fixed in order to properly enable SSE in WASM. I can't remember what the feature's called.
no, yeah. So actually, we're actually using SSE and SSE2 in Hyperlight WASM today, and our VMs support that.
No, sorry, I was meaning to be able to generate SSE3 and AVX 512 and
yeah. Well, we would have to. There's changes that need to happen inside Hyperlight Core to make that happen. We have to flip a bunch of bits in the registers to turn those on. Any questions or comments? Well, this is another scenario, Vinny, that might be interesting to do. A lot of it's been kind of fleshed out, and integrating would be just kind of like adding it, replacing some of the things in our main project for to use this tool and just see if the test pass. So
cool. Yeah, I'll go through this doc.
But
yeah,
sure. Yeah, probably maybe a second approach after the other work that we suggested there.
Okay.
Okay, cool. If there's no other questions, then we can go back to the agenda. And I think that was the end of it today. Is there any last ad hoc things that folk want to bring up?
I was thinking for the next public one of these, we should think about bringing in like Pedro and Nanvix folks. So Nanvix, I'll drop a link in chat, is a really cool Unix-based microkernel. And we've been doing some work in Hyperlight, and you can probably see branches out there where we have been working on seeing how Nanvix fits inside of Hyperlight. And this gives us these have been some cool experiments, and I think it'd be really neat to get Pedro and Dan in to chat about it and just show people like, okay, yeah, we can run unikernel kind of applications. Like we could run C code that's, targeting, Hyperlight's guest libraries. Then we can run WebAssembly and do the same thing. And then we can run WebAssembly and provide host guest interactions using WIT, which is very, very cool. And then get to the point where we can show an actual like microkernel running in there with scheduling, with threading, and actually running within Hyperlight. That I think would be really fascinating. I think it would be a cool one to talk about with folks. What do you think? Yeah. All right.
Be great.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I think I will try to cajole, and if I have to, bribe to get those folks in here to chat about it next time. So really appreciate everybody. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Liam, always good to see you. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll follow up on Slack here for those couple things I had.
Sure.
Make
Thanks.
sure you ping me too if I don't.
Thanks, y'all.
Should I ping you now or later?
I'm going to do it right now because I have extra time. So that's the nice thing about ending the meeting a few minutes early.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.